Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, your cosmic GPS for life, love, and everything written in the stars. We're Tali and Ophira Edut, the AstroTwins, here to decode the astrology of the moment and help you navigate your destiny like a pro. Hello there, everyone. It is the week of August 3rd through 9th. And welcome to your weekly horoscope podcast. Tali here in Seattle.
Ophi in New York. And
the big news of the week, Chiron is now retrograde as of Monday, August 3rd, and it's in reverse in Taurus until September 17th, and then slips back into Aries until January 6th. It's very last pass.
January 6th.
I know. Very last pass through Aries, and it goes back into Taurus again for 7 years on April 14th of next year. Venus is making a move, a homecoming party to Libra, the sign, one of the two signs that Venus rules, along with Taurus. It's actually going to be in Libra twice this year. The second time is because, we have a fall Venus retrograde. So that one goes through Scorpio and Libra this year. Thursday also has a quarter moon in Taurus, kind of bringing some balance to Chiron. And the sun forms one of its two trines to Saturn this year. So there's kind of a ego check there. And Saturday, we're very excited. We're having our Lionsgate portal event for 8/8. Free webinar and manifestation ritual. Bring your tarot cards, bring your notebooks, bring yourself. We'll drop the link for that in and tell you more. And then lastly, on Sunday, more lion energy. Mercury, the messenger, goes into Leo from Sunday, August 9th until the 25th. So, Ophi, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Chiron retrograde. So Chiron hasn't been in Taurus since 1984. It was there from 1976 to 1984. Last, but June 19th of this year, came back around again for a little sneak preview, 3-month tour through Taurus. Let's unpack it. Chiron is the wounded healer. What does that actually mean? Chiron was injured by an arrow in lore and a wound that never heals. So Chiron represents those core wounds that we carry with us throughout our lives, but ones that actually can turn into our healing gifts and strengths. So for all of us, Chiron in Taurus brings a healing focus on Taurus-ruled matters, our values, the way we treat the earth, the throat and neck and shoulders area are chironic, the throat chakra, and the body in general. Taurus, is in charge of our physical form, or it's a second sign. So after we are these crying babies and Aries that are like, what am I doing on this plane? Taurus is where we get tactile and sensual. We pick things up and put them in our mouth. We touch, we taste, we see. The 5 senses are Taurus's terrain.
So the areas that Taurus rules, from values to traditions to the body, are all up for examination. The things that we say, the messages with that throat chakra activation of Taurus, those are all things that we really want to start to question. Is it helping or is it harming? That Hippocratic oath of do no harm. And, one of the things that popped out, 2 pop culture stories that I thought were really Chiron and Taurus, were involving Ariana Grande and Nara Smith, who is the sort of the trad wife with the ASMR breathy voice, who's like, my husband wanted chewing gum, so I spent 15 hours making it from scratch. Influencer
in a Schiaparelli dress, and
right.
she's I mean, her husband is Lucky Blue, a model who is, they kind of have this aesthetic, of
They both come from like a Mormon background and they're very young and they have a few kids. And well, she just appeared on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which is another Chiron and Taurus one that's, the in the news for having a toxic workplace. The host, Alex Cooper, who's a Leo, the South Node is in Leo. So what's happening with all the planetary changes of the summer? We have the North Node went into Aquarius and the South Node in Leo. So we're looking at celebrities, ego, spotlight versus group and community. How are we showing up in groups? If you are someone who is a celebrity or a public figure or someone that has a following, how are you showing up and interacting with the people in your community? Are you showing up as the guru or the expert, the star who's just being gazed upon? Or are you showing up standing shoulder to shoulder with the people who are part of your group, your community? That seems to have a lot of ripples and waves and disruptions have come up around that. So Nara Smith, like, of course, we all know she can possibly spend that much time making a meal for her hungry husband. She went on Call Her Daddy and was talking about how the trad wife label was something that she never wanted or asked for. She was just doing her influencer art, and she's this very egalitarian marriage with her husband, and really more presenting herself in her real voice as what would be considered much more feminist than what one would think of as a trad wife.
Even though she used the hashtag trad wife regularly in Instagram. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So what's really happening is, I think we've talked about it before. DARVO is an acronym for deny, accuse, reverse, victim, and offender. Essentially, it's gaslighting. So there was a lot of backlash to that. Like, okay, fine, we're glad you're a real human and that you do have this equal marriage and what's really happening behind the curtain here, but you have also
presented
this like you acted. So there have been all these the turning point and all these women, like one household, one vote, and don't get a college education and just cook for your husband. I mean, it's gotten really awful. So the women who are spreading the message, they have full-fledged careers and they're profiting off of this. So they're not actually experiencing or living the message. Erica Kirk doesn't seem like she's been home a single day since Charlie Kirk's assassination. So they're out on the road. They're getting paid for their content, their appearances, all to tell masses of women who are probably, many of them sheltered and grew up in very religious upbringings a lot of the time and already have the conditioning. They're acting as these role models and showing,
but they're not walking the talk.
They're not at all. And so it's this mass gaslighting that's all feeling
become trendy and stuff.
It's like very Project 2025.
You're doing it with perfect lighting and makeup and a couture aesthetic, and people are like, oh, I want to, it's like playing dress up and Barbies and but it's not. It's promoting barefoot in the kitchen, actually,
but not in an empowered way. It's really insidious, because if women have only just recently been able to even have their own money, their earnings would have gone right into their husband's bank account.
Women couldn't have credit cards to the mid 70s. Like when we were born in 1972, women
couldn't have their own bank accounts or own credit cards. And, this sovereignty that they're suggesting women not pursue, they wouldn't be able to do what they do without it. So now there's this young Orthodox Jewish woman who's 19, and she starts all her videos like, I'm 19, I didn't go to college, I don't plan to, my husband's 10 years older than me, and he tells me not to worry my pretty little head about things. And
oh my God.
She makes Nara Smith worthy meals and shows her wardrobe and goes to Pilates. And it's just, And people are just like, is she just making fun of us and trolling us, or is she real? So it just goes. So the whole mix of AI and these people who live these obviously exaggerated on camera lives with the whole crew filming them as they talk about the life they don't actually live.
And that's just the icing on the perfectly frosted cake with handmade sprinkles. Yes, Nara Smith actually made her own sprinkles. I saw
It's
the other
fascinating
day.
to watch. Just
It
say,
is,
spare
but
us the messaging
it
there
doesn't
from the
have the empowerment
cooking
of
show.
DIY. It just doesn't. Taurus rules the throat. It also rules our values. It's very staunch, ethical sign as well, very traditional. And one of the scarier things that has been happening is Tucker Carlson, the fired Fox News pundit who's gone off and formed his own conservative network.
And he's a Taurus.
He's a Taurus. He, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a Gemini, and Thomas Massey, who was one of the only Republican legislators to stand up to Trump on the War Powers Resolution and the Epstein files demanding transparency. So he got ousted from his seat. Trump basically went on the attack. So if you don't align with Trump, he can get you out of office if you're a Republican, and he did. But the three of them are starting a quote unquote new movement in the Republican and MAGA party that is focused on America first. And they all are aligned on the Epstein files needing to be released. So I like that. They're the end of foreign wars. But what do you get along with that? So much hate, white supremacy, politicized religion. And they're showing up now as the outsider resistance party, which people are saying that the Democrats should be the ones who are standing up for these things. And it has seemed, though, while Jupiter was in Cancer over the past year for most of the Trump presidency thus far, that the Democrats have been towing the line. Many of them have been just not standing up for the values of their constituents. It's not
Michigan,
true.
our home state, Gretchen Whitmer, who people really loved until she sold out just at the end of her term by allowing data centers. And I mean, her Instagram is like, she did a whole thing about Shark Week and she got trolled so badly. Like people were like, read the room, data centers, who's the shark? It was just like, she's just ignoring it.
Well, it's a big week. It's a big week in Michigan and a lot of states. Here in Washington State, we're having our election, the primary elections for the Senate. Haley Stevens, who's considered very centrist and corporate funded Democrat, versus Democratic Socialist leaning Abdul El Sayed. Two water signs there. She's a Cancer, he's a Scorpio. So it's considered a very crucial race for the Senate seat.
Exposed a lot of issues in Michigan too, though, like because Michigan has the largest Arab population outside of the Middle East, or one of them now. And, it's all the issues that are coming up with any candidate, from APAC money to where they stand on Israel to data
Health and
centers
healthcare and
and healthcare.
affordability. Abdul El Sayed is Dr. Abdul El Sayed. His move towards politics came, he says, from when he was working as a doctor and seeing how impossible the healthcare system, how inaccessible it was, how awful insurance was for people. So, we have candidates who are speaking up and speaking out for people, but it feels like it's hard for them to make an impact with all the fanfare and 24-hour news cycle, and corporate media doesn't cover a lot of the stories. So a lot of people are turning to social media and podcasts to get news, but they don't have the same resources and access. So it's a really crazy time. I mean, Uranus, the planet of chaos and disruption, is back in Gemini for the first time since the 1940s. It moved back in there just this April 25th, and it's there all the way until 2033. So we're getting a real shakeup in media right now. We're in the early days of it. So it's really, compounding the whole what is true and what isn't true in this world.
And we're really just a little more than a week into the new Aquarius North Node cycle, which we called the Great Compression, when things were going to be compressed into smaller and smaller things, whether it's communities or data and technologies. So this is when the AI bubble, would, if it's according to these 18-year cycles, start to get shaky and really accountable over the next year and a half. And it's true that the earnings statements are coming out. I mean, one of the things that I saw was Aquarius rules space travel and exploration, and there's something called space junk from all the rocket launches and tests that are happening. Actual space debris, space junk is falling on farms and even homes in certain areas. And,
And supposedly there's a crater that's going to be blown up on the moon by a SpaceX rocket. So Elon Musk is literally messing with the moon now and the moon's surface. So
you know what happens when you mess with the moon. I mean, he might be a Cancer and that's his ruler. So don't mess with the moon.
Basically, what's happening is there's the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is going to crash on the moon. It's a defunct rocket, and they're going to crash it with the moon. So what actually will happen with that? According to the BBC, they said there's no danger to Earth. Said spokesperson Jimmy Russell. NASA will continue to track the booster for training purposes as well as later observe the impact for scientific purposes. Well, whether there's a danger to Earth or not, symbolically.
It's giving Doge. It's giving like him breaking into federal offices and just doing whatever he wants. Now he's on the moon doing it. Like, someone stop this guy.
Thinking of how the moon also represents our private lives and the feminine in astrology. It's like so symbolic of just like this rocket, this phallic rocket coming in and crashing onto our surface by, with Elon Musk behind it. Back to Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Thomas Massey forming this new MAGA movement. Or maybe it's an anti-MAGA movement, but a new right-wing movement that's America first. The Tea Party, which was started in part by the is he or isn't he alive Mitch McConnell, began in 2009, sort of 2008, it was brewing. 2009, it became official. And that was the last time the lunar nodes were in Aquarius and Leo, just as they've moved in this July 26th with the North Node in Aquarius. Yeah.
The North Node was in Aquarius then. And so we can expect to see repetitions of things that started at the very end of 07 into early 09. And Aquarius rules politics and groups. So more breakaway movement. I mean, democratic socialism is really on the rise because people, like you said, Tali, are so disappointed by the, conventional Democratic Party. And then Tea Party movements on the right are quite likely to be forming. So this is definitely going to be a chaotic election season, midterms, everything else, and eclipse season coming up. But yeah, there's one more there's one more celebrity or public figure that really was in the headlines this week, personifying this Chiron retrograde in Taurus, who we are hoping the best and wishing the best for, and that is Ariana Grande, who announced that after her tour ends on September 1st, she's going to quote unquote take a step back from visibility. So she's been scrutinized for her body and her appearance, which is very Taurus, ruling the body.
People have been very concerned about her frame. She just released her pedal video, and she plays this showgirl Pepper who keeps going and auditioning over and over again for this like panel of men, and they're like, be more like this, be more like that. But in one of the auditions, she's kind of wearing this like Sandra D smoky bad girl cigarette puffing black,
Greece.
yeah, grease outfit. And it's like she leans over, and her chest, you can see like all the bones kind of in a very defined way that looked, made people super concerned. I mean, there's been a lot of concern about her thinness, and here's where things get tricky and where we come back to the whole Darvo conversation. It's like she, on the one hand, people are saying, don't comment on my body. We've seen that with Kelly Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne's daughter, who's also lost an insane amount of weight, is claiming, I'm not on Ozempic and my father just died. Leave me alone. But it's
It
like
shows how, if indeed they do have eating disorders or anorexia, those are diseases. And,
people will cover them up, much like an addiction. There's been footage surfacing of Karen Carpenter, who actually died from anorexia. She was a 70s singer from the group, the brother sister group, the Carpenters. And if you don't know who she is, you've definitely heard a bunch of her songs. You just haven't, you probably didn't realize it because they're so part of the zeitgeist. But she, there's footage of her just saying, oh, I was just so tired. I'm just so tired from the tour. I just kind of forgot to eat. And, very much like there's a lot of shame. There's so many layers that go into eating disorders. I'm not an expert on it, that we have been.
Well, there's anxiety, and there are a whole host of mental health, real mental health things that get
secrecy and cover up and shame are,
because it can take the form of sort of an addiction. And like when you're in the throes of that, you don't want to let it go, because without it's serving a function in a sort of its own unwell way. It's serving the function of self-medicating deeper things like anxiety and
like cutting,
sometimes
can be like
OCD,
that too.
or just
and again, we are not saying that we know that Ariana Grande has an eating disorder. And there's kind of two camps of people who are like, don't talk about her body, leave her alone. And then there's people who are like, but it seems like irresponsible to not say, hey, does she need help here? And it's like, it's a tricky line to walk, but how do we, and that kind of brings up a subject that has, been brewing, of like, how do we call people in versus calling them out? And that's, sometimes you have to call people out before you can call them in, and
I guess, but I mean, I don't know what you have to do anymore. And that's what I think Chiron and Taurus and the Aquarius North Node are having us question, like from a value standpoint, not acknowledging something that is not aligned with values or the greater good of the people, which is very Aquarius. Feels like you're betraying yourself and others. And if you get a defensive reaction, or the person shuts down or shuts you out, like we saw what happened with all the people who were MAGA shamed, they went and joined Truth Social and all created their own not even micro, they created their own
cult. I'm kidding.
Cult and pods, and and platforms to continue doing, to continue talking, thinking, and reinforcing the ways. So
I'm not sure if either calling out or calling in is 100%
somebody
effective
was talking
because,
about, yeah,
yeah.
someone was talking about when Trump got booted off of Twitter and how we celebrated, but that led to the creation of Truth Social and all of these other platforms. So, do I think that he shouldn't have gotten booted off of Twitter? Absolutely not. I'm just saying, like, we haven't hit on a real solution to some of these issues that we're grappling with, where we have now 5 generations sharing a workplace, for example. People are living longer. Their references, their sense of what is okay to say or do or not, if they're looking back to an earlier time when certain things were acceptable and referencing that and not updating their system software. I mean, all I can think of is we all need to keep our system software updated internally. We all need to be doing continuing education
Yeah.
in many ways. There's a responsibility that comes with being human, especially if you're in the public,
Yeah.
that it's scary sometimes, because if you don't stay in community and have people who talk to you and hold you accountable, and you're not open to questioning what you believe, people are having like major existential crises. I mean, we've had to deal with this with our Jewish identity and unlearning so many things that we've learned growing up that were
Well,
indoctrination as well.
Chiron retrograde happens 5 months every year, but this is the first year where it's happening in Taurus since 1984. And then it does back into Aries. Chiron moved into Aries in 2018. And it really has been revealing all the collective wounds around war, power, autocracy, domination, also like narcissism. And so the shadow of Aries. So now we're getting the shadow of Taurus, climate change here in Washington State.
Oh, the
It's
fires,
really
yeah.
the Spokane, Washington fires, which are on the other side of the state. Have really they've been as bad with their damage. They're sort of mirroring the Palisades, Altadena fires, Malibu fires of January of 2025. It's really heartbreaking. They did evacuate everyone, so there've been no deaths so far, and hopefully there won't be any. So that's pretty miraculous, but the destruction, and we're having a hard time getting some fresh air here in Seattle. The smoke has already drifted from wildfires also in Oregon. So I
Yeah.
just it's paying attention to that. Taurus is an earth sign, Aries is a fire sign. So here we go. Um, for all the Aries out there, you will be done with Chiron for 50 years as of next April 14th. For all the Tauruses, Taurus rising, people with Taurus placements, Chiron's going to be passing through town for you. So you're going to, does it mean, oh my God, I have to hide out? No, but addressing some of your deeper wounds, or discovering and excavating your healing gifts is also the invitation. Now, speaking of invitations, we want to invite you this Saturday to be part of our Lionsgate ritual. So on August 8th every year, the Lionsgate portal opens. Now, this is definitely more of a symbolic thing than an actual astronomical or geometric reality. But
Sorry to drop
yeah,
that news on all the people who are like, it's the Lion's Gate. But you know what? When you collectively put your energy into manifesting together, it brings that to it.
yeah. So the Lions Gate takes place from July 28th till August 8th. And the lore that's been going around is that Sirius, Orion's belt, the sun and earth all align with the Leo constellation, which is not the case actually, because Sirius is actually at 14 degrees Cancer. Orion's belt is more in the Gemini, points to the Gemini constellation. And because of the precession of the equinoxes, the sun is actually still in the Cancer constellation, but it is in the Leo zodiac mathematical area of the sky. But we love the idea of looping them together. They're kind of three in a row. Orion's belt pointing to Sirius as it does, and then
Yeah, if
bringing
you're
in
stargazing, that is the way to find Sirius, the three stars of Orion's belt, which those become visible at the end of July and early August during this Lion's Gate time. So Sirius is not yet visible in the eastern sky until late August, early September. But no matter what, if you want to find Sirius, you find those three stars in Orion's belt and they point exactly at Sirius every day of the year, whether it's visible or not. Now, what's cool about Sirius, though, is Sirius is visible and reaches its highest point around midnight on New Year's Eve. So New Year's Eve is the approximate highest point in the sky for Sirius. So it's like our New Year's Eve spiritual star
right,
sun in a
Sirius
way.
is called the spiritual sun in mystical communities because it's that bright. Now, it's not always going to be the brightest star in the sky because right now, this time of year, actually Venus and Jupiter come out to play together and show up in the sky. But we do have Sirius. It is technically the brightest star, and it's actually two twin stars that are, it's so far away, but they appear to be one and illuminate each other. So fixed stars are stars that, move so slowly in comparison to Earth that they stay at a single point in the zodiac for
From our
decades. Yeah,
measurements.
so
Yeah.
2000 to 2070, Sirius is at 14 degrees Cancer, which is the sun is at 14 degrees Cancer on July 4th and 5th, thereabouts. So if that's your birthday, you have Sirius, the spiritual sun,
We're
like
going to find Sirius in
hanging
the
out with you.
chart on at our 8-8 Astro Tarot rituals. So yeah, it's honestly, if I was saying like maybe 8-8 is just the summer holiday for mystical people, but if we wanted to start a new one, we didn't feel like celebrating the 4th of July because there are plenty of reasons to boycott that one
This year,
sometime
yeah.
this year. Yeah, then celebrate the actual Lion's Gate on July
Yeah, I
4th.
mean, 8-8 has a great numerological significance. The manifestation of Leo season, and there actually was a correspondence to this with the flooding of the Nile, the annual flooding of the Nile, which there was the Aswan Dam was built in Egypt in 1970, so the Nile didn't flood onto the banks and farmlands
Right
anymore.
before just before one of the last Aquarius North Node periods. But um, yeah, the flooding of the Nile season would correspond with the 8-8-ish time. The sun now moves into the Leo constellation from an astronomical point of view on August 10th. So astronomy and astrology, constellation positions, we always have to remind people that modern astrology is not based on the actual placement of the constellation because of the Earth's natural wobble.
August 12th is actually when the Lion's Gate closes. It peaks on 8-8. And this year, and take we love the idea of a portal between, the hunter, the spiritual sun, Leo season, the sun in Leo, and us here on Earth. We'll take the spiritual gate, we'll call it in. Personally, I think you have access to that anytime you want to set an intention, and you can just work with the different energies that are available in the zodiac. But this is one that we're celebrating, and we're going to do a summertime tarot manifestation ritual. August 12th is actually the day the Lionsgate portal closes, and we have a total solar eclipse with the new moon in Leo. The first one since that great American eclipse that people went out to Oregon to see with their eclipse goggles
I
on.
saw it here in New
Oh,
York. It
right, you
actually went across the
did.
whole United
In
States.
2017. It was August 21st, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and we have another one of those, another total solar eclipse in Leo next summer and its path of totality happens to take place in Egypt. So, here's another special announcement for the week.
We have hinted at this if you've been in some of our webinars. So we are going to be opening up registration for the total solar eclipse tour to Egypt. We've been invited to an eclipse conference, an amazing one that is going to be held in Egypt with us, an Egyptologist, an archaeologist, and an astrophysicist. It's going to be an amazing trip. We're going to share about that, invite you on the Lionsgate event, but we'll share the website for you to already go and read about it. It's with a tour company run by an amazing Leo woman called Power Places. She's been doing Egypt tours for 40 years. It's going to be a fascinating, informative, and epic trip because the totality over Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh's tomb in Luxor. It's over 6 minute darkening of the sky, which is especially long. So it feels prophetic in many ways, really powerful. And when we got the invitation, we had been looking at eclipses of the whole decade with some other astrologers as well for a few years. And it felt like 2027. I remember finding out that one was going to go for Egypt and being like, wow, that one is going to happen there. So here we are, and it's almost 2027. So join us. Join us for that. We would love that. It's trip of a lifetime kind of thing. We will share the information and the application for that because there are really limited spots.
So if you
And
have a bucket list trip to Egypt and you want to get a personalized tour of the pyramids without
spend time with us, of course. We'll be on the
exactly.
whole thing along with you. There's a cruise, and we'll be watching the eclipse from the cruise ship docked right there
And then on the Nile,
on the
yeah.
Nile.
And they have
Yes.
the upper deck all set up with chairs. They're planning on that and
Yeah, it's going to be,
eclipse
everything's going to be all set
glasses.
up.
So you're like going to be lying down on the Nile by the pyramids with your eclipse glasses watching this phenomenon.
And this Saturday, 8/8, we're going to do the Astro Tarot ritual. And we're going to also do a reveal of our 2027 horoscope book theme and cover in progress. So, and open up the first opportunity to get our very best manifestation bundle deal on the book. Get your pre-order in, lock it in so that you are the first to get our 2027 horoscope book when it comes out. It's so weird to say that. I'm like 2027. I feel like that every
know.
year, but that'll be out in a few months, and we're going to have a new tote and some other special things. So we're going to share about that. Sign up, join us free this Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern for our Lionsgate Astro Tarot ritual. We will be recording it. If you can't make it, you can join and do the tarot spread and feel the energy of the people who are on as well. Even on the replay, you can always palpably feel it, but we hope you'll be there live if you can.
Yeah. And then Mercury goes into Leo to wrap up the week on Sunday. So that should have conversations filled with more passion, more theatrical flair, more romance, more just forthrightness, which is an interesting square to Chiron retrograde. There's a little bit of friction there. So I just expect to see some egos on display, but also people having to decide, am I going to double down on, you know, being righteous and right, or am I going to open my mind and learn and roll with the times?
Well, I think a general way to go about this era is like open your mind and your mouth at the same time. Closed, it's a time for listening to listen and talk. And I take that, I'm not just saying that to you, I'm saying that to myself as well, because we're all responsible for what we say, and we're responsible to one another. The Aquarius North Node is really pushing us all to think about our role in the group, in the collective, not to take things for granted, not to just say things that we have sort of, if we have a familiarity with someone, we can just say it to them. It's like, what impact are my words going to have on the greater collective and the people in it? Don't assume that the people who are listening to what you say all think the same way you do. And, I have to remind myself every time we record this podcast as well. Yeah. So lastly, let's wrap up with our human design sun transits for the week. And some of you guys are in our human design for astrologers course that is still being offered at our summer special price, 60% off our introductory price. It's been so fun. We have 3 of the modules are open and more coming this week. This week was about the I Ching and the hexagrams and the gates, and really starting to put your chart through the filter of human design. So I'm really enjoying releasing those and imagining what's happening as the people who have signed up for human design for astrologers are discovering this more nuanced version of their astrological charts. We're calling it somatic astrology because it's really locating your chart in the body, on the body. And in human design, the body isn't just your physical body. It's your chakras, your energy centers, your auric field. So instead of having houses, you have centers. Instead of saying just my sun is in the 11th house, which is the realm of friends and groups and community, I can say my sun is in gate 9 in the sacral center. So I'm going to experience it through this part of my energetic makeup. And it's very empowering with Chiron retrograde in Taurus, a time of healing around the body. And the Taurus themes is to connect your cosmic blueprint to your body and energy fields. So this week, we're finishing up the sun. So every 5.5 days or so, the sun travels through one of these, what are called gates that we teach about. There are 64 of them. It's about 5 1/3 full gates for every sun sign. So this week, from July 31st to August 5th, we had the sun going through gate 33, which is retreat or privacy, and that's in the throat. And people were sharing their private thoughts and Ariana Grande stepping back from visibility, people saying things that they may have regretted saying in public. There were
RFK Jr., whose throat is definitely,
he's a vocal spasm.
Yeah, he just started a cooking show, and where he goes around and he's going around teaching people how to cook nutritionally with the upside down food pyramid. Now he's getting slammed, but I watched an episode and I thought it was I not one to give him praise, but I actually thought it was one of the only things he's done that made sense. It wasn't bad at all.
It's, knowing the food pyramid does not a health and human services director make. So it's
exactly knowing that you should eat protein, telling people to eat protein. That's like every
should be in the gym.
Bro knows
exactly. He knows all the gym biohacking stuff because we know he's obsessed with that. So
it's also kind of like people, oh, you don't have money for beef, eat liver, get canned salmon. You don't know how to cook.
While 2 people in Michigan died of cyclosporiasis, he's doing a cooking show. Like, let's let's look at that. Like this is the culture, the Leo South Node, narcissism, celebrity culture,
But nutrition,
vanity.
yeah, I know. It's like good nutrition. We don't have it in the United States at all. And,
He's not wrong about that. He's
he's
just
not
in the
wrong about
wrong
that.
job.
Yeah.
He's in the wrong role. He should not be in the government. Like, please, by all means, educate people on healthy cooking and eating. But what does
Right.
that have to do with
But
being in the
but now there's the largest measles outbreak we've had in Europe.
yeah
People are dying. It's like it doesn't
public
cancel out
servant role was not
your
made for him?
autism, the harm he's doing to people with autism as well, or attempting to.
He's
So
done
yeah.
so much harm, and the Hippocratic Oath is to do no harm. So,
But eat your
thanks for the
protein. Eat your
recipes,
protein.
babe.
Yeah. Thanks for the
You know,
salmon cakes. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right. Yeah, exactly. So, interestingly, August 5th through 11th, the sun is in gate 7, which is the gate of leadership. Or, we have these names that are a little esoteric in human design, like the role of the self, or in the traditional Chinese hexagram. Hexagram 7 is the army. And the idea behind it is like, yeah, it's in the G, or identity center, which is this part of one of the 9 centers that's about really like who you are and the life force energy that you emanate. So this is about looking at your own role as a leader in the collective. It couldn't be a better time for the kind of
very
Chiron and Taurus
Lionsgate, too.
self-examination. Yeah, very Lionsgate
Leo
too.
season, the noble leader, or the Red King, the Red
Yeah, and actually,
Queen.
there are seven traditional chakras, but 9 in human design, because two of them split into 2. So the G center is a split between the heart. The heart has a small ego version of it with 4 gates, and then the G center, which is like kind of maybe the higher expression of the heart. So Leo does rule the heart, and where we radiate our energy out from. So that's very fitting. Like, are you coming from your ego or from courage? I mean, that is truly by ego, meaning, even someone who's unwell and maybe defending that instead of
going into Darvo, even,
going into
deny,
Darvo.
attack, reverse victim and offender. That's a
Yeah.
response that people say is narcissism, but we all have narcissistic wounds in ourselves that, come up, and the ego can be a protector as much as it's not your amigo. So we have to walk.
The ego is always it's always like that thing that we think is protecting us, but is actually harming us and probably others. So this is a really important week to look at where that might be happening in your life, in your community, in the things you say. And, if you do, we can't be perfect. People make mistakes, but if we dig in our heels, double down, and don't take responsibility for them, and get defensive, which is very human. I've done that many a time, and it just makes it worse. So this is
there will be
condition.
Consequences for people who do that. If you choose to not own up to things you've said or done, then it is kind of a time where there could be, clap back for that. It's just like
it impacts trust, but we also all have to recognize that it can happen to any of us, and because nobody can know everything. And so how are we going to deal with it when we get to that point? This Aquarius North Node, Leo South Node time is about also, like you said, calling people in and calling people out, and where is the line between that? So with that, we're going to call you into our Lionsgate event on the 8th.
Bring your tarot cards, or if you don't have them, we'll pull for you.
Yeah, or we have our astrostyle.com/tarot. You can use our tarot
digital
section.
Deck. Yep.
Yeah. And you're also, of course, invited to Human Design for Astrologers. It's open. It's a self-paced course. We have a special bundle with Helena Wood's astrocartography course. So with your whether you add that one or just do human design for astrologers, you also get 2 bonus courses, a human design 101 and our birth chart basics mini course, to make sure that you understand the fundamentals of human design and astrology before we mix them together too. So it's very robust, and it's got cheat sheets and worksheets and video modules, and you have it for life, for a lifetime. So yeah, we would love to see you in any and all of those, or in Egypt. We're going to drop all those links, and have yourself a powerful week.
Thanks for tuning in to AstroTwins Radio. If today's episode gave you an aha moment, we'd be over the moon if you left us a 5-star review. It helps fellow astrology lovers find us. And make sure to hit subscribe and follow us on iTunes and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Want the full visual experience? You can also watch the video version on our YouTube at AstroTwins-TV. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at AstroTwins, and head over to astrostyle.com to read your free daily, weekly, and monthly horoscope that we write for you with love. Until next time, move with intention and let the universe meet you there.